What up, Detroit? It's Rob Parker, and coming up on Shop Talk, former NBA baller Grant Long. He stops by the shop. Also, we'll break down the Lions' last home game of the regular season against Minnesota. Plus, newly elected Baseball Hall of Fame baseball writer Tom Gage. He's in the debate challenge. That and much more starts right now. Some people think the best place to talk about sports is on the radio. No way, no how. It's in the barbershop. I should know. I'm a sports analyst. Detroit is a 5-point favorite. Devin, save your money, I know. And I own a barbershop in Detroit. And the cats in the barbershop, they think they know everything about sports.
Get ready for Rob Parker's Shop Talk. Real sports, real talk.
Shoptalk TV is brought to you by Bob Maxey Ford and by Wingstop. Also, Nick's Chips.
This is Shop Talk.
Welcome into Shop Talk on this Saturday. I'm Rob Parker. Let's kick it off with Getting Rob, where you get my take on the biggest sports stories of the week. We start with Michigan basketball. They're looking for a little credibility if they can go to Arizona and win today, because they're coming off a horrendous homestand where they lost to a commuter school from New Jersey and Eastern Michigan this past week. So not a good week for Michigan. They got to play better. Kudos to both NFL and NBA players who have been in protest of what happened to Eric Garner in New York by wearing the I Can't Breathe t-shirt. We saw first to do it Derrick Rose from the Bulls, Reggie Bush with the Lions. Also, Kobe and LeBron have followed suit. It's good. Players have not been fined for wearing these t-shirts in pregame warm-ups. Athletes have just as much rights as regular citizens to protest something that is not right. And finally, Cincinnati Bengals coach Marvin Lewis is definitely feeling himself. First of all, he has a big game against the Browns in Cleveland. He goes on a local radio show and calls Johnny Manziel, yes, Johnny Football, who will be getting his first NFL start, a midget, which is, first of all, politically incorrect. Number two, why shake up Manziel and get him fired up for his first NFL start? That'll be an interesting game Sunday in Cleveland. Getting Rob is sponsored by Fathead, for real. Now it's time for the big debate. It's sponsored by Bob Maxey, the only Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealer in downtown Detroit. To reach him, call 313-392-9200 or visit them on the web at bobmaxeyford.com. The Pistons are on a West Coast trip. On Friday, they played the Suns. Tonight, it's the Kings in Sacramento. And it's been hard for the Pistons to win home or road. This season, of course, has been a disaster. And D-Jack, I'm going to ask you, who do you blame? Is it Van Gundy? Is it the players? Is it somebody else or something else?
I think it's a mixture of the two. You got to put some of the blame on the players because they're out there playing. You also have to put some on the coach. But when you look at this team, Rob, they're fourth in the NBA in rebounding, man. And when have you seen a team fourth in the NBA in rebounding this bad? Most times, teams that are good in rebounding, they have a winning record. Golden State, Portland are all leading right above the Pistons, and they're winning. So I would say 50-50, but I might lean more towards the players because Van Gundy has proven his track record.
What about you, T?
I'm definitely say the players, man. Sometimes you got, as a player, you got to take pride, in yourself, you know what I'm saying, and suck it up. These guys is not new together, you know what I'm saying. It's like third year playing together. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, you got to just suck it up and play as a unit and be successful.
This is my only issue I have. With this roster, basically, there's some changes. Van Gundy brought in a couple of people. But last year at this time, the Pistons were 10-11 with Mo Cheeks with basically the same cast. And remember, when they started the season, they won in Indiana and they won at Miami, which is just weird. That's why I have to look, and I'm going to say Van Gundy has to get some of it because they shouldn't be this bad. I'm not saying they should be leading the division, but they shouldn't be this bad.
I can't blame Van Gundy. His guys are still, he doesn't have Jody Meeks. He doesn't have anybody who can shoot.
But
then at the same time, I take it even a step further. It's your guy, Mr. Brandon Jennings. A big reason last year they started off so hot was because of him. They were top tier in fast break points. In the NFL, a good quarterback weathers a bad storm. In the NBA, a good point guard weathers a bad storm. Jennings hasn't been there. He's only averaging 13.5 points, I think 6 assists. He's got to be better for this team, help everybody else build and improve.
Cal, who you got?
You know what? I'm with Teague. It's got to be like a pride thing. You let the absolute worst team in the 76ers come in
to your crib.
House
I know, that was a bad
spank
one.
your butt. To me, that evens you out with, our record shows that we're just a game ahead of them, so we're at the bottom of the barrel and it's sad.
But the coach, come on, you know this. Van Gundy does have a proven track record.
He does.
He's never had a team this bad. Yes, it doesn't have Dwight Howard on it. And so now you got to look at Van Gundy and say, are they playing for him? Does he have the right scheme for the talent that he has? There's issues there.
That's what I was going to start to look at, Rob. Does he have the right scheme for the players that he had? That lets you know how good a coach is when you can take a team and see, even though your scheme is this, you can adjust your scheme to the players. And now that you say that, I don't think that he's doing that.
You know what? I'm going to say this. I always say this about Pat Riley. People think Pat Riley wasn't a great coach, just had great players. But you got to give him credit. He had Showtime in L.A. What did he do when he went to the Knicks?
Slowed it down.
Slowed it down because they didn't have those players, right? Rough guys, Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you have to adjust to your talent.
Well, you know what I'm saying, with the way they losing right now, let's keep up the good losing streak and maybe we get a possible #1 draft
But the only
pick.
problem, Teak, is who's out there? But there ain't nobody that's going to change the organization,
This
right?
college class is not as good as like the last
Nobody
couple of
can
years.
even give me the name of the definite #1 pick for coming up.
I
Who?
can't. I
Can you?
can't.
They're still a young team. They got time to figure it out.
No, that's
They're still
tough.
young. They can figure it out in due time. It's just going to take some years.
And you got to think next year we might be without Greg Monroe. That's going to hurt too.
Yeah, no, that's a real possibility. So things are going to have to improve for the Pistons. But so far, it's a bumpy road to start the season, and I'm afraid to say, season's over. Check out the Shop Talk Rundown. Here's what's coming up. More Shop Talk is on the way. Stick and stay, Detroit. If you're looking for a used car, come on down to Bob Maxey Ford on Jefferson in downtown Detroit. Pick up the phone and call Zach and the crew at 888-396-6081. And mention Shop Talk and get an extra $500 off your trade-in.
For the latest in computer technology for Mac and PC, check out Southfield Computer Outlet, 28901 Southfield Road, or call them at 248-557-2222.
If you have a story, we'll help you tell it. At DMRS Media Group, we are your visual storytellers. We specialize in digital media production and brand communications. We create and produce independent television programming, promotional videos, special event videos, and much more. DMRS will also write and distribute your press release. Give us a call at 313-778-8604 and visit dmrsmediagroup.com.
Looking for t-shirts, clothing, and gifts? Well, check out tshirtpalace.com. Shop t-shirts or create your own design and upload it. Go to tshirtpalace.com and get started.
Now it's time for Homeboy Highlights.
This week's homeboy is Detroit Lion quarterback Matthew Stafford. Last week in a win over the Buccaneers, Stafford went 26 for 34 for 311 yards and 3 touchdowns without an interception. Stafford connected with Megatron for a 53-yard TD pass, as well as Joseph Twerk It Furia on a 10-yarder, and finally a tip pass that Joique Bell grabbed and ran in. Congratulations, Matthew Stafford. You are this week's homeboy.
What up, fellas?
We welcome in Grant Long, of course, Eastern Michigan alum, former NBAer, and now current broadcaster for Fox Sports Detroit. Grant, appreciate you being here.
Man, no sweat, Rob. Anytime you call, I'm here.
There you go. Tell me about the Pistons. What's up with this team? they have been god-awful so far.
I mean, I wouldn't term it as god-awful. Come on, man. I went through a season, my rookie year, where we lost 17 games in a row. So I don't think this team has reached god-awful yet. I know what that feels like. But I think they're not far away. They need a win or two to get a sense of what that feels like, and then I think they can move on from there. But I think they have some good pieces, and I have a lot of belief in Stan Van Gundy as well.
Are you a little surprised that Stan Van hasn't been able to get more out of this team? Because last year at this point, this basically same group was 10-11. To be this bad is a little surprising with a coach with such a track record.
Yeah, but I think when you talk about making change, it's not going to happen swiftly. I think it's going to take some time, and I think he has to implement his defense and offensive schemes. He's got some players there, some new players. He's got 7 new players on the roster from last year, so that's going to take some time. And then keep in mind, I'm not making any excuses, but keep in mind he's got some players that have been hurt. He hasn't had his full complement of players, and when you get your full complement of players, it adjusts your lineup, it adjusts playing time, it adjusts what guys are going to play and who's not going to play. When you have everybody there, you can have a good gauge of just what you have, and he hasn't had that yet this season.
You played in the NBA for about 15 years. When you see the current players protesting, wearing the I Can't Breathe t-shirt, what's your take on that?
I think it's great. I think for so many years, the fans and people outside of the sport always looked at athletes as, we want you to play, but we don't need what your political opinions are or whatever belief you may have. We don't need to know that. We just want you to play sports. And so many guys have followed that for so many years. So it's good to see this young group of players taking a stand against something that needs to be stood up for.
And Kobe said something that was, it's not just racial, it's injustice. You know, and I think that's the thing that I like that he said as well, is that when people see things that happen that they're not comfortable with, you should say something. It's your right as an American citizen.
I think it's, I forget who said this, but it said injustice for one is injustice for all of us. And I think that's the proper stand to have. And if we live in a society where we all turn our back to what we know is wrong, what kind of society do we have? I don't want to live in a society like that. If I can't take care of it, I would think that somebody else maybe that watching from afar might say, wow, this is wrong, let me do something about it. Somebody has to do something, and then maybe everybody else can band together for that same cause.
Yeah. Let's talk about you, this is your first year at Fox Sports Detroit doing the Pistons, but not your first year doing television. You worked in Oklahoma City, yeah. You worked in Atlanta. Just tell me how you got involved and how do you like your second career as a broadcaster?
Well, I tell you what, it was ironic that I actually got into the business because I'm a criminal justice major from Eastern, as you said. I can't even remember the year, but it was a year after I retired. I was living in Atlanta, and Steve Smith, a good friend of mine, was working for TNT. And he was signed up to do broadcast analyst work for the Atlanta Hawks. He got a call back to play one more year of basketball, and he took that call in October. Training camp starts in October. So they were kind of left in the lurch. Like I said, I was living in Atlanta. They called and asked me if I would be interested in possibly doing that job. And I said, sure, why not? I tried it, liked it, and got involved in it. I took it with the knowledge that I would only be there for a year. When Steve Smith retired, he came back, took that position, and I went into an in-studio job with a good friend of mine, Jerome Jarinovich. And again, that bug was already inside of me. I liked it a lot, and things just flourished from there.
Wow, that's pretty good, because a lot of people got to think about that career after once you stop playing, and that worked out for you.
Oh, no question about it. It's one of those things, that I forgot to tell you this, that I had maybe another 2 years to play in my NBA career, but I had a decision to make. Would I play 2 more years and possibly just sit on the bench, or could I just kind of start a new career that would, give me some longevity in that field? And that was the decision that I made, to sacrifice maybe 2 more years of basketball to start a new career.
All right, last thing I want to say is the big story coming into this NBA season was LeBron James returning back to Cleveland and coming in with the young players, Kyrie, and then adding Kevin Love. And now it looks like they're catching their stride. And do you expect this team to make a playoff run or a championship run or be there at the end?
You can always go home. I'm living proof to that. I've been away from Detroit for a long time. I'm back in the D. LeBron made a good decision to go back home, play for his home team. And I like what he said. I'm trying to bring a championship back to my city. You have to be able to appreciate a guy when he says that. And I think anytime you have the ingredient of LeBron James to start with, you put yourself in a pretty good position to win some basketball games. They're still figuring it out, new coach, new players, young players, and so forth. He has a lot of knowledge, LeBron does, to teach this team. And I think they're going to stumble for a little bit, but when it gets down to, really getting it done late in the season, he's the guy that can get it done. I got a lot of faith in those guys and what they can do.
All right, Grant, Appreciate you.
No problem,
Thanks
Rob,
a lot.
my man.
Continued success on Fox Sports Detroit.
Indeed.
There you go. More Shop Talk is on the way. Stick and stay, Detroit.
You want to keep your car moving? Come to Royal Oak Auto Care. It's the complete auto repair center. Domestic, European, Asian, no matter what make or model, you want to come and see them. 31313 Woodward Avenue in Royal Oak, located next to Dugan's Irish Pub, or call 248-629-7576.
Serving up hot fashions and style, it's the Restaurant Fashion Bistro Boutique at 18236 West 10 Mile Road in Southfield. Give them a call at 313-449-3603. Open 7 days a week.
If you're looking for a used car, come on down to Bob Maxey Ford on Jefferson in downtown Detroit. Pick up the phone and call Zach and the crew at 888-396-6081. And mention Shop Talk and get an extra $500 off your trade-in.
The best haircuts in Detroit are at Sporty Cut.
Home of the $10 all-even haircut. Hey, Teak, don't take too much off. Come on!
7 Mile between Outer Drive and Myers, Sporty Cuts.
Now it's time for Trash Talking Twitter.
Paul Arrington says, what are the Pistons doing? Tanking the season? Hashtag not cool.
If you want to trash anyone or anything in sports, hit us up on our Twitter.
When you're told to do something by your mom and dad, don't frown your face.
Time to change gears. Here's hip hop news.
Hey everyone, it's your girl Elle Beasley, and here's the latest in hip hop news. As the year-end list gets dished out, iTunes has released their top-selling songs and albums for 2014. Pharrell's Oscar and Grammy-nominated Happy topped the list of top-selling songs, while the Frozen soundtrack is the best-selling album of the year. John Legend's All of Me came in at the second slot behind Pharrell and was followed by Katy Perry's Dark Horse at number 3. In other news, West Coast rapper Nipsey Hussle plans to take his hustle to the next level by charging $1,000 for fans to purchase his new album, Mailbox Money. There will only be 100 hard copies and they are $1,000 each, he told MTV News, adding that it will also be released for free via iTunes and the Proud to Play platform built for the Crenshaw release. The 100 people that buy the P2P version will be granted access to a private advanced listening session of the upcoming 2015 album, Victory Lap, at the secret Marathon store we are going to open the day of the listening. He further explained that the effort would also musically differentiate himself from other artists of the day. And finally, Cyndi Lauper praises 50 Cent for his evolution on lesbian, gay, bi, transgender issues. Lauper tapped 50 to appear at her 4th annual Home for the Holidays benefit concert over the weekend. The pop music icon spoke with BuzzFeed last week about including the rapper in the show. All right, that's the news. I'm your girl, Elle Beasley. See you next week.
All right, now it's time for No Way, No How, where we preview the Lions' upcoming game this week. This week we welcome in D-Jack, of course, our football expert here in the shop. Lions are hosting the Minnesota Vikings, the improved Minnesota Vikings, who are now 6-7. And the Lions, of course, coming off a big win against Tampa Bay. But tell me about Minnesota. Teddy Bridgewater's playing a lot better.
He's improvement. He's a rookie who's getting better. He's getting experience. Nothing beats experience. He's learning from his mistakes, and it's showing the results on the field.
And Minnesota, you know what? They had a big lead. Jets came back against them last week, and Minnesota won in overtime. So they're coming in feeling good. But the Lions, they did what they were supposed to do against a bad Bucs team that is now 2-11, and you never discount winning. They did what they needed to do. Never discount winning, but like you said, 2-11, Rob. The Chicago Bears, a debacle. I expect us to beat the Minnesota Vikings because that's a game you should win because they're still not good. You get what I'm saying? So this is going to tell us a lot about the Lions. And the one thing is, it's amazing on how open Calvin Johnson has been the last couple of weeks, where I think, it was pretty obvious you need help over the top to defend Cal.
Rob, I thought that the New England Patriots and the Arizona Cardinals showed you the blueprint. You man up Calvin Johnson, put the safeties over the top, and you make Matthew Stafford make accurate throws. The defensive coordinators for the last 2 weeks should be fired. They play zone and let Calvin run free everywhere. So I'm not too high, I'm not too low, because I just seen defensive schemes that were flawed and the Lions took advantage of it.
All right, let's get a score for this week in the shop. I know everybody was pretty on board on this. Who you got? What score?
I got the Lions 24-17. I got it being a nail biter and coming down to the end.
A little closer game, huh?
A little closer.
For the second week in a row, I'm going to pick the Lions at home. Well, you booing me now? It's unbelievable. I got the Lions winning 30-23. All right?
Fair enough.
So we'll check it out.
It's Shop Talk's Cut of the Week.
Got my guy, Mr. Jones here. He has a genuine taper. As you can see, nice line up, gradually taper down. As I spin you around, I fade out the back. So when you wear a collar shirt, it blends in real good. Nice clean cut, scissor the top, nice little high top. Everything gradually smooths down. Nice blend.
For the best sports coverage on the web, go to theshadowleague.com. Coverage with a cultural perspective. Check it out.
For the latest in computer technology for Mac and PC, check out Southfield Computer Outlet, 28901 Southfield Road, or call them at 248-557-2222.
Looking for t-shirts, clothing, and gifts? Well, check out tshirtpalace.com. Shop t-shirts or create your own design and upload it. Go to tshirtpalace.com and get started.
Now it's time for At the Movies with Greg.
I'll start with you. This looks like you just had the greatest time in the world.
Yeah,
in this movie.
It was just really fun doing everything with all these actors and actresses. I love them all.
I could tell. That's because everybody did. Everybody just, did it with this really nice family, group together. Yeah. And even with your guy, Mr. Stacks, he's supposed to be, this hard guy.
Yeah.
But you can tell deep down inside,
Well, my character is P. Diddy Combs. Basically, I said, what would P. Diddy do in this situation if he was running for mayor? And then when he got his twin daughters, I see him in Family, Daddy Miller. So that was the DNA for this wonderful, incredibly talented actress. Nominated, marinated.
That's right.
Never imitated.
Whoa.
Oh, whoa.
Always celebrated.
No.
The number one.
Quit visiting.
Number one.
Number one.
I love when they're like on shows and they're like, number one.
Yes.
I said, it's the old DJ thing. Number one.
And I could like picture them just like, at the end they're like, number one.
Nice.
All right. And Rose, you were the number one person working with him, making sure. I mean, you're the one who kind of like knew what all was going on.
Pretty much, yeah. It's sweet. It was, it's a very sweet love story between these two, and she's sort of the fairy godmother, Grace.
At the Movies with Greg is sponsored by Nick's Chips. Grab a bag and enjoy.
Here's the Instagram shop of the day.
Check out BA's Barbershop located at 3644 East 9 Mile Road in Warren. Give them a call at 586-522-4019 and visit basbarbershop.com.
If you want your shop featured, hit us up on our Instagram account, Shoptalk TV. Now it's time for the debate challenge.
It's with great honor we welcome in Hall of Fame baseball writer Tom Gage from the Detroit News. Tom gets his haircut at Steve's on Mac in Detroit. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Good to be here.
Let's ask about the Tigers, Tom. You know, they're making some moves in this offseason. Is the window closing, or is it closed for the Tigers as far as getting that elusive championship that they're looking for, the first one since 1984?
Now, I know where we're going to go with this, because your window is going to be a lot more closed than mine. I am saying that it is beginning to close, but it's such a big picture window that it really doesn't make any difference. But it is beginning to trend in that area.
Tom, I think it's closed. I thought the last year was
no
really
surprise. No surprise to me.
No shock, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Tom, I'm only saying that because Verlander isn't getting any better. Okay, there's a chance that they lose Max Scherzer. Also, who knows what happens with David Price? We saw the bullpen was a mess. And this is the other part, Tom. The other teams in the division are getting better. The White Sox, the Royals just made a run to the World Series, and Cleveland's all better.
Yeah, and especially the White Sox. They've made a lot of moves at the winter meetings, but I'll tell you what, that's a huge point, because I've not been a big proponent of the American League Central. I haven't thought, even with Kansas City, which really surprised me last year, that there were a lot of good teams in the division. So the Tigers kind of have to watch their flank on that. But they still have an immense amount of talent, and I say hold on to your pitchers if you can, because that's where they're going to win it.
Still want to see the Tigers, for me to believe, got to get better in the bullpen, and they got to get better bench players. That's the other thing that we saw in the playoffs. A lot of guys came in big spots, and they weren't that good. Dave Dombrowski's on the clock, and for them to win a championship, it's going to be real tough.
Well, I think that's true, but they still have a solid core of their lineup. And I think that if you have Miguel Cabrera and if you have Victor Martinez, you really don't need a huge another bat if you fill in with solid players. I wish they had brought back Torrey Hunter. I really do, because I thought he was better last year than a lot of people gave him credit for. But I still say the strength of the team is the starting pitching, and keep that core together if you can.
Well, Tom, you may be a Baseball Hall of Fame writer, but you didn't win this debate. Thanks for joining us anyway.
But I was beginning to win it.
Now it's time for a segment we call What You Sportin'. What You Sportin' is sponsored by the Restaurant Fashion Bistro on 10 Mile and Southfield Road.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Tico Edwards. I'm hosting What You Sportin'. We have a twist today. Rob Parker is going to be in What You Sportin', and we want to introduce Marcus. What you sporting, Marcus?
I'm actually sporting a rugged Timberland. It's kind of worn, but it's a style, you know, and I like it a little bit. It's different. It ain't what everybody always wearing, but I like it. It's different.
Okay, nice. Okay. Rob, what you sporting?
Got on some comfortable suede brown chocolate boots. Oh, wait a minute. These are Gucci. Oh, yeah, that's right. Suede brown chocolate Gucci boots.
Okay, both of you guys put your feet up. I have to say, Rob, I like those Gucci's have on, but they look like buffaloes to me.
Oh, what?
Marcus.
What?
Put,
oh, it's a fix! It's a fix! No, stop the camera! All right, that's our show for this week. We'll see you next week.
Interested in sponsorship or advertising on Shoptalk TV? Give us a call at 313-948-6100.
And check out our podcast every week. Join Eric Vincent and myself, Rob Parker, on the Shoptalk podcast.